Hello and welcome to my latest video. So this time we're going to be taking our final look through the original vintage Empire Strikes Back figures, and boy oh boy, there's some absolute classics in today's selection. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Okay, then starting off, so I've got these sort of roughly out on the table in front of me here, but just a couple of updates really. So if you remember, one of the figures that I had to upgrade was my original Stormtrooper, because the one that I had the torso had all gone super yellow and it just wasn't in a very good state. Now this one's not bad. The limbs are a little bit looser than I would like. They're not quite as stiff as the one that I had. However, as you can see, the hands are really nice and black, and predominantly it's nice and white, and that's what I was really looking for. So I shall be swapping this one with the Stormtrooper figure that's currently in my first 12 display. The other figure I was after, and this one's arrived now, is the Jawa. So I bought a Jawa once again with really nice hands, really stiff limbs, this one, online, and the only thing was its legs were quite like they've been pulled apart. So for the last week or so, in fact probably longer, I've had this Jawa with elastic bands around its legs in the hope that it's going to train them to go in a little bit. Yeah, that's really done the trick, because those legs were really wide. So that is now looking rather good. So I'm going to swap that one with the one in my cabinet. It came with a little cape as well. Now something else which was quite interesting, this one didn't come with a gun, but the Stormtrooper was sold with a reproduction weapon. Now I actually had a spare light blue Stormtrooper gun, and as far as I know, this is an original one, and this was the one that came with the Stormtrooper, and this is the bootleg. Now when you look at it, it's very difficult to tell the original from the bootleg, but it just doesn't sort of feel right compared, one side by side. In fact, if I put them dead there, I'll zoom right in on them so you can have a close look. But the one below is the bootleg, and it just doesn't look right to me, and it didn't feel right in the hand. So I won't be keeping that at all. I'm gonna not keep any sort of bootleg weapons if I knowingly know that they're bootlegs. That top one there is absolutely fine, but that one there is an imposter, so it shall be going in the bin. But that one, that's great now, although obviously the Stormtrooper has a dark black blaster, which I believe is what I've got with the one in sort of my mini 12 figures. But just a little update on those two, which is good news. Now, with regards, if you remember last time, I bought these display stands from one of the toy fairs, and some of them fitted perfectly, some of them didn't, and apparently that's because they're a bit of a mixture of, some of these will fit the vintage collection figures and some of them will just fit vintage figures. So I have to just basically work my way through, and any that are a bit too loose, I'm just going to put to one side, and I shall sell those on. But I have got some more. I've ordered another 50 of these, and these are all specifically designed for vintage figures, so these should be absolutely fine. Okay, so the first one we're going to be having a look at is the R2-D2 with sensor scope. Now this figure was well, it was pretty common back in the day. I seem to remember this was the most common R2 of all, and it was nice to have that little sensor scope action, as it were. I mean, it's nothing compared to the figures of today, but it was great. Now, I actually remember this being in better condition than it actually is, but at least the stickers have not faded, but it has got a little bit of sticker wear. It's certainly not mint, but it's going to be good enough for me. And like all the droids, I'm not going to bother putting him on a base, but I'm going to leave his little sensor scope up like that when I display him. So we'll pop him over there. Next one we've got is the AT-AT Commander. So this one has got like a lightish Bespin gun, and looking at my trusty list here, which we've got, and I have made this one available to download. This one has number 55, which is a slightly darker Bespin gun, what I would call the Bespin gun. So that's absolutely fine. It's not the grey one, it's the darker one. And I'm going to give this one a little dust with my toothbrush here, just to make sure, because with some of these they can be a little bit dusty, even if the eye doesn't see it. Now let's find a suitable stand for him. Oh, there we are. That's going to be nice and tight. It wasn't called General Veers, so it wasn't really Julian Glover, but I always thought of him as Julian Glover in this role, and of course the card back shows Julian Glover, doesn't it? So yeah, great little figure. That nice condition as well. I'm pleased with that one. Now, because I've got these new stands and I've figured out what on earth's going on with them now, I'm going to go back into my cabinet at the end of this video, swap out all the figures that were on the really big stands and bunch them up a little bit, so I think they're going to look a little bit better when they're on display in the cabinet. Okay then, so that was the Attack Commander. The next we've got is the Bespin Guard, and this is the second version of it. Now with this one, of course, it was the gold braid that would always get worn off, wouldn't it? And he's had that ridiculous, but he's always got his leg out. It's like the designer, a bit like the Cloud Car pilot. The designer was, he was a bit drunk that day, wasn't he? And and said, I'm just going to bend his leg out. So I think he's, apart from that, he's all right. So just give these a little bit of a wipe, and then we'll find a suitable base again. So he's going to be partly off this base with his leg out. It's like he's going to be doing the can-can, but... And once again, I'm pretty sure that the Bespin Guard, yeah, he has exactly the same weapon. So I am just double checking these as we go along. But it's sort of the darker Bespin gun rather than the grey one. There we are. He's all right. Yep, cool stuff. I'll start lining these up here, ready for their photo shoot. Lovely. Now, next one we've got is the Cloud Car pilot. Now, I had a bit of a disaster with this. So when I was pulling these figures out, ready to get them displayed, and for this video, of course, I somehow, when I opened the plastic bag, I somehow managed to lose the Cloud Car pilot's communicator, and I was like, I'm not kidding, I was ashen all day. I spent about an hour on my hands and knees. I couldn't find it, and I didn't film this video because I was in such a bad mood about it. And about 6 o'clock later that day, the wife came up and said, oh, look what I've got. And she opened her hand, and in it was the this little communicator here. There it was, and I thought, where did you find it? And somehow, when I'd opened the bag, it had pinged off right to the into the kitchen. I mean, another room, basically. So I was absolutely amazed, but so thankful, because I've been online all day. I've been online, like, look, I said, oh, what am I going to do? You cannot buy you could buy loads of repros, you know, from about £4 up, but I didn't want to repro. All my weapons, to the best of my knowledge, are all originals from back in the day, and I've had this figure since I was 10. This is my original guy, and apart from a tiny little bit of yellowing on the front torso there, apart from that, he's absolutely mint. So I was completely mortified, but then completely elated that Wendy had managed to find his original comlink. So I was so pleased with that. So I've said it before, and I'll say it again, the blimmin' weapons on these figures are worth more than the actual figures, because I could have picked up a few Cloud Car pilots, but trying to find a weapon which was original, well, I think the only way you're going to be able to do it is to buy a graded one now. That's the only way, to be sure, because they just don't seem to be around. There we are, and you could see how easily it would be to lose that little accessory. And I've had that since I was 10 years old. Do you know what I mean? I was so gutted, but then so elated, you just couldn't believe it. Of course, I'm assuming I'm sure both accessories are grey with the Cloud Car pilot, and he's not holding his gun very well. So let me just check. So the Cloud Car Pilot, the gun in question on our little hint sheet here is number 43, and that is indeed the Cloud Car Pilot and the TIE Fighter Pilot. Interesting. Yeah, because I've seen there is a mistake coming up. I've spotted on the TIE Fighter Pilot. So, well, we'll get to that. But there you go. There's another one which is going to need a change of colour. But what a great figure. I absolutely love it. But what a mare I had with it yesterday. I was literally mortified. The Cloud Car Pilot was released as part of the Empire Strikes Back action figure collection in 1982. It's another of those figures that was modelled on a character that was only in the original movie for a few seconds. For me, this was always an odd figure, with his arm permanently bent, holding his comlink. However, the design was totally unique, and that made him kinda cool. Like a handful of figures, it came with 2 accessories, a standard blaster and the unique, to this figure at least, comlink communicator. When filming my latest Star Wars figure video, I opened the storage bag to find the comlink accessory, no bigger than a centimetre in size, was missing. I spent about an hour on my hands and knees searching the floor looking for it, all to no avail. Admitting defeat and being gutted all day, my wife approached me and opened her hand. Inside was the little comlink. This single accessory in its original form is incredibly scarce and more valuable than the figure. I shall be extra careful with my vintage weapons going forward. Cheers. Next we got Luke Skywalker in his Hoth battle gear, which is that one. It's a really great and detailed figure, this one. I very, very much like it. This is a nice example. The limbs are really stiff. In fact, the legs are super stiff, so that's brilliant. So I'm just going to give this one a little wipe down. Nothing wrong with this one at all. And you remember last time we mentioned about how Lobot had that slightly waxy feel about it? This figure's got a little bit of that as well, but not much. Not as much as Lobot last time round. Yeah, no, that's okay. Now with this one, this particular weapon was it unique? Oh, this one and the Rebel Commander had this particular rifle. And what I always used to do, well, there's 2 ways. You could either pop it in his hand like that, or I used to just like it slung over the shoulder. That's how I would sort of display it. So that's how I'm going to have him, is just sort of slung over the shoulder like that. Next we got C-3PO with the removable limbs. So you'll notice that this one's got the limbs there in a little packet, and that's because when we had the shop back in the day, I believe we had about 100 of these in Kenner baggies. So this is one of those. It's come straight out of a Kenner baggie. Yeah, we had so many of them. And it's an absolute minter. It's really, really stiff. The head barely moves. There we are. It's so stiff. And there's the little bag that would have come with him, like so. So I'm not sure if I can manage to somehow keep the bag in place. When we used to have them separately, of course, you'd just put C-3PO's arms through the holes, wouldn't you? But I want to keep it in that little plastic bag. Then let's choose one of these in the hope that this is going to fit it. No, that's one of the smaller ones, so I'll put that to one side. Let's try another one here. Take 2. See if this one fits. Not very well. Let's try another one. May actually be C-3PO's foot. Let's try his other foot. That seems to fit a bit better, that one. Is that going to hold him up? Yeah, that's going to hold him up, isn't it? So we'll slide the bag up like that. I think he'll be okay, won't he, like that? Once again, that was absolutely pristine, that one. There was no markings or anything on it. And as far as I know, it's never ever been played with. Now the next one we've got is the Imperial TIE Fighter pilot. Now that was a fantastic figure, wasn't it, that one? It really was. I love the design of it. Now it says here that the TIE Fighter pilot, that particular gun was number 43 again, which is the light grey gun. So I've actually got this one with it, and this one is for Nim Num. So the black version of it is with Nim Num. So this is one I'm going to need to change. I have a funny feeling that my Nim Num's also got a black one. So it may be I might be on the hunt for a light blaster, but I don't think it'll be too difficult to find. Like some of the accessories are, like the comlink, for example, which was just pure agony. So let's see if he holds his gun. I seem to remember this one doesn't hold the gun very well, because I can see a little bit of blue jack on there from in the past, but there we are. Now let's get him on a base. Yeah, that's okay. So that's looking good. It's the TIE Fighter pilot, absolutely superb figure. Next then, we've got Zuckuss. So, looks a bit like a fly, doesn't he, with those massive eyes. This one seemed absolutely fine, to be honest. And Zuckuss has that massive rifle, doesn't he? They really were inspired, the bounty hunters, weren't they? Whoever thought, well, I suppose it was Lucas who thought of the idea of the bounty hunters, but you know, the way Ralph McQuarrie, I guess, visualised them, he did such a good job, and his contribution to Star Wars cannot be underestimated. Now, Zuckuss comes with that massive rifle, as you can see here, and I mean, look at the size of it. It looks really out of place compared with the other Star Wars weapons, but I'm just thinking if that might be the way. If I just pop this into his hand like so, is he going to hold it? Well, not very well. Let's try that again. Let's see. I'm sure there's a way where Zuckuss holds the weapon quite casual, like, you know. Well, the best I can sort of come up with is that. So I'm just going to very delicately leave it at that, in the hope that it stays in for the photo shoot. So this was a bit of a weird one, because it's like he's wearing a dress. There is no two ways around it. He's got his, like, well, I don't know what this is. It's like a little backpack, isn't it, to keep it in place. And I noticed mine's got like a little bit of staining and stuff on the back. I can't imagine, you know, just putting a bit of spit on it and it's not moving it. I can't believe how sort of beaten up. This is a really common figure. Considering at one point I had a second set of bounty hunters, I'm a little disappointed to see it's in a bit of a state, but you know, it is what it is, I suppose. Let's pop him on a stand, like so. Now, Forlong was one of those figures, another one who had a unique weapon, this little blaster here. So I believe most of the figures there are right-handed, aren't they? So slide him in there. Yeah, he holds that all right. Oh, he did. It's like you can get the figure in, the weapon in, and then the instant you move his hand, it goes. There you are. That's him. Brilliant. Good stuff. So as is tradition, I thought you'd enjoy looking through the collection such as it is so far. So I've replaced the Jawa and the Stormtrooper now with my replacements, so that's good news. And then in my main cabinet, I've taken off all the figures that were on those much larger Protec plastic bases, swapped them out for the smaller ones now, and moved them in a little bit so they look a little bit more compact, but I think they look even better. So yeah, can't wait to get the rest of them in. So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed looking through this latest batch of Empire Strikes Back figures. That does in fact finish the first two movies now. Now we've got an awful lot of Return of the Jedi figures to go, plus of course the Power of the Force at the end. And then I'll start on going through my carded collection. However, Next time round, we're going to be having a special where we have a look at all the bounty hunters, and we'll be taking a look at my carded ones as well as my loose ones, and discussing just why they are so darn good. Thanks very much for watching today. Do please hit that subscribe button if you've not already for regular vintage Star Wars content, and I'll look forward to seeing you again very soon.